Pop, how you doing, man?
Son, doing well.
Right back at it again. Pre-game podcast, not live from Madrid. Thank goodness. Thank to those of you who spent your hard-earned American dollars on acquiring some euros and traveling out there. Good on you and God bless. But I can't
If
imagine this is what you expected to see.
Barstool wants to fly us out, we're available.
Yeah,
Just
I could
saying.
make some arrangements. But I don't know. Would you go? I'd go to the game. I'd go. Stop
It
NCD.
was paid for. Of course I'd
Yeah,
go.
I don't know. Enjoy your vacations, everybody. But big news right off the bat here, guys. I was, as you know, pregame Dolphins playing the Dolphins this week. We're going to talk about that, and then we got our Bada bets coming up later. For those of you who don't know, hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Enjoy. Biggest news of this week. Can't believe we did an emergency pod over this. I'll tell you why we didn't in a bit. Dan Quinn has named himself officially the new defensive coordinator. Joe Witt Jr. Will remain an assistant. Somebody on Twitter said we should get him a coloring book. Uh, will it make a difference? Pop,
That's a pretty
Pop didn't see that tweet.
that's a, that's a
Yeah,
pretty funny line.
he's
Poor,
going back up to the booth. So
poor
they said
Joey.
they should get him a coloring book up there. Keep him occupied. But no, so it's gonna go back to the arrangement that it was in Dallas, I guess. Dan Quinn will be calling the defense, running the defense, in charge of the defense. Joe Witt Jr. will be his right hand man. What that exactly means, I don't know. What do you think, Pop?
I think it will make a difference. I think this team suffers mostly from talent and poor execution. But I also think that there's a fire that DQ brings, right? I mean, you see him engaging with players as they come off the field. And, I've always said this from an offensive coordinator role because it's a little bit more obvious, but the play caller can get in a rhythm, can get in a vibe, get in a rhythm. And Dan Quinn, quite honestly, has a lot more experience doing it at a very high level than Joe Witt Jr. does. So, yeah, you could make the argument it's the same defense, same players schematically, but maybe that play calling vibe, that aggressiveness, I think he's going to go after it. I can think it's going to make a difference. Now, is it going to suddenly become a top 10 defense? Heck no. But can we get a couple of stops per half? Even that would be a huge improvement over where we are right now.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't, I don't see it mattering. I'll give you the other
That's
side of it.
the
I think you made a good point
that's the
for.
prevailing thought. But
I think
you're
you made a good point for
you're
it
dealing with a
mattering.
real floor here.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, like, if you had everybody healthy out there, you could sell me more on the idea that it would matter. But at the end of the day, if you've got, God bless him, Tyler Owens as your starting safety, if you've got, you're down to like your third string, fourth string, fifth string cornerback, you've got guys coming off the street playing defensive end. I mean, to a degree, like, I mean, name your guy. Could Vic Fangio make a big difference here? I think to a degree you would see improvement, but this is like you don't have
I
NFL
think that's
talent
fair.
out there on defense, so to expect that level of improvement for Dan Quinn taking over, it's what had to happen, right? There's no way you could let this continue.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't know. Like, I think if you go through the group and the positions, right, I don't know that I totally buy in that there aren't capable players out there. I don't think there are elite players out there or players that scare anyone. But I think we can agree they should be performing better than they have been.
Yeah, I agree on that. Like I agree that I think, like you said, you can get into a play calling rhythm, you can get into a flow, and some of those things where it's like, okay, it's third and seven, it's an obvious passing situation. Maybe Dan Quinn attacks those situations differently, and some of those frustrations are assuaged. But I still think at the end of the day, like he wears the headset. He said early in the season he's heavily involved. I don't see. I don't see this being a meaningful change in terms of how things are going to happen this season. Maybe it gets you into a flow for next season, and maybe it allows us to assess whether or not DQ thinks he needs to bring in some more help to run the defense next season, or if he's going to run it himself next year. Assuming he's around, I think more than likely he's going to be. But overall, will it make a difference on Sunday? I don't think so
Yeah, and
personally, but
I want to
that's my
clarify
case.
my position. I think it's going to make a marginal difference. I don't think it's going to make this difference where it's going to, like I said, all of a sudden we're going to leap into a top 10, 15 defense, right? But I think I even watching the Detroit game, as crazy as it was sound, you could see they could make one play or two plays that look pretty good, tackle for loss or no gain. Just stringing three back to back to back, or maybe four at times when they go for it on fourth down. That's just, they just, that's what's missing. So I think, even DQ's alluded to that, right? We're not able to just consistently get those plays going. So, but I think it'll be marginal, but I do think we'll see a little bit of an improvement.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in terms of the guys that are coming back, you've got McLaurin, Noah Brown, and Will Harris are all in Madrid, and they are all limited participants in practice. Obviously, this is good news. It has to be good news.
Yeah.
They're all practicing. Again, it falls a little bit into like the in terms of the outlook for this season, especially if you don't win on Sunday. It falls a little bit into the too little too late category because you're looking at the team to do anything meaningful this year. This team's going to have to win out. But yeah, McLaurin, Noah Brown, Will Harris, all back. I think that's good. I think there's still some meaning to some getting some good performances out of this team between now and the end of the year.
Yeah. I think you got three starters, right? I mean, you're down, gosh, 6 or 7 starters. I did the count. I should have been prepared with it, but I did the count on the back of a napkin the other day. I think it's 7. Um, so just getting 3 starters back, it's going to help. Will Harris, I think, was a big loss. You heard Dan Quinn and Joe Witt talk about the fact that he was a big part of the communication and organizing the guys, and I think his physical presence. So he seems to be closest of the three. Just in terms of they started that 21-day clock. I think with Terry and Noah, just especially Terry's injury, that quad injury, I'm just not sure if it's just going to be a nagging thing for the rest of the year. And I guess if he got hurt one more time, he'd probably have to shut him down at that point. But I think it leads to the next topic, which is a bit of a bugaboo for me. Is I don't really understand all the hate. Like I can get the frustration with Noah Brown being injured a lot. He didn't want to be injured, and he wasn't picked to be on this team. You know, AP picked him, Dan Quinn picked him, and he's trying to get back. Terry, I don't get it at all. The guy's never been injured in his career. I get there was a holdout situation, which I understand is frustrating, and that was to me a very much a two-sided situation. But gets to the point where Jayden Daniels' mom has to come out and publicly defend Terry and let everybody know that in fact he was at the last 2 games. He was just keeping a low profile, right? Which I was saying, like, do we have proof that he wasn't there, right? And so, like, I don't know, all this vitriol. I guess people just need someone to blame. I don't get it, and I also think it defies the facts of the situation. If you look at how he got hurt laying out for the team, giving 120%. Like, it wasn't like he was just running down the field and he pulled a muscle because he wasn't in shape. So they were physical plays that he got hurt on. So um anyway, I don't quite get
Hey,
it.
it's a Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I was telling Pop. I think people are just looking for something to
Fans
be
are
mad at.
emotional.
This is a disaster of a season, and I think you can point to any. There are very few things that I think you can point to and say that's not a contributing factor. I
I
think
was
whether or not Terry's on the sidelines when he's out hurt doesn't matter to me. That kind of stuff
no.
I don't care about. It's more of like a if you want to be mad about something, be mad about the holdout. Be frustrated about the fact that that contract was on the table in May and he didn't take it until late August. And if that's something you want to be frustrated about, more power to you. I don't think guys hold out on teams and they turn around and win a ton of games. The Lamar situation when Lamar was re-signing was ugly. Turn around and won a ton of games. Like it doesn't. These kinds of things
I
they
don't give the guy
matter
fault
to
for trying to get what he could there. I just don't.
fans. I don't think they matter in the grand scheme of things. But who knows? Maybe we'll be able to get some more perspective on that as the
I'm
season
still
finishes
riding
up
with
here.
17.
We'll uh we'll know because this whole thing's on Hard Knocks. So we get to
That,
find out exactly what's messing up the vibes back in Washington. I'm sure they'll have no
but I think
shortage
people
of
just read so
ways
much
to
into
make us look
things.
bad.
It's like the crazy part of this is like they read so much. Oh, he's not on the sideline. There must be something going on. Oh, he's traveling to Spain. He's trying to get a free vacation. He's traveling to Spain, people, because he's ready to start practicing. And that's where the commanders are practicing. It's as simple as that. That's why he's traveling.
Yep.
So I know you want to get on the Dolphins pregame. I do want to just touch quickly on the Jayden Daniels thing. Um, you know, whether he should or shouldn't play or when he's ready. I mean, I think where I land on that is I have the same fears and trepidations that everyone has about Jayden coming back. But
Trepidations.
at the same time, see, I can use big words too. You're not the only one. But at the same time, I look
I
at it
really
and
wanted to
go,
make this point.
if there's if he's ready after the bye, or maybe he's already a week later, which just seems like it's where it's trending. Are you really going to sit him out with 5 or 6 games to go, healthy and ready to play? I think that's like an unprecedented thing for a team to do, regardless of the circumstance, with their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Um,
I you
and
know,
if you pick up a win or two, as crazy as winning out sounds, you're not mathematically eliminated yet. So I just don't know how you don't play him if he's ready to play. And I think one last point just to tie it all together. I think having Noah Brown and Terry potentially back when Jayden is ready could be a real big positive and a real big boost for that offense. The chance for him to play with his 3 starting receivers, I think would be a big help.
yeah, I don't know. I think for me it's a non-conversation because there's nothing we could do about it. I think I they're gonna it's gonna be determined by the timeline of which is rehab, which we're gonna have no information on, how that intersects with how the team's doing. Obviously, if we start ripping off 2, 3, 4 games in a row, and then we get the chance to get Jayden back, sure, that could be a boost, get hot at the right time, maybe get a chance at sneaking into the playoffs at 10-7. I'm more thinking about if this team ends up 3-14 than I am 10-7 at this point. And at that point, what's the I don't know. I lean more towards Jaden don't gotta go, in my opinion. But we'll see. I think at the end of the day, you will see him again because it's good for Dan Quinn to get him out there and maybe you win 2 or 3 games at the end of the year once you get Jaden back and you go, hey, look, what could have been, right? Maybe you can do that angle at the end of the season. But I would
I
like to
don't
get on
think
to
they're. I
Cincinnati.
don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna think about sitting people out until they get maybe down to that last couple of 3 games, right? And I would say one just quick one, super quick one, because I don't know how many people picked up on it. JP Finley, I think, asked Dan Quinn, I think it was his Monday presser, how Jayden was doing. And Dan Quinn didn't want to say anything, but he did chuckle a little bit and he said, "Man, that kid's a quick healer." So I think it's an indication of how maybe that rehab is going. It's probably ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works out. Let's get on to that Dolphins pregame, man. So 9:30 a.m. Eastern time,
When do you want that wake
6:30.
up call?
Yeah, don't. For it's at how do you know how to say the name of the stadium, Pop?
Bernabeu.
Bernabeu Stadium is where
I
Real
wanted you
Madrid
to
plays.
butcher it, but you did a good job. You phoned a friend.
Yeah, I had to. It's where Real Madrid plays in Spain. So obviously very cool stadium, very cool experience. I know Marcus Mariota said his brother is a big soccer fan and he loves Real Madrid, so he's like geeking out over this whole thing. So that's cool.
You
Overall,
once won a Real Madrid jersey, didn't you?
I won a Real Madrid keychain. I
No,
got a
you won
Spain. It
a
was Spanish
Spain
national
jersey.
team
Spain jersey.
jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, first one on my team to learn how to do it around the world. Put that one up in the rafters.
Boy had some
Uh,
skills.
well, we could get around, but overall, in terms of like playing Miami, which is obviously what we're there to do, uh, it's a it's a tough one, man. The bottom line is we'll talk about it in our keys to the game, but they've got weapons and they've got the offensive. Their coach Mike McDaniel, I think he knows what he's doing from an offensive play design standpoint. I think he's the second coming. My take on him is he's the second coming of Cliff Kingsbury. He's a really good offensive mind that wasn't ready to be a head coach when he got the job to be a head coach. And he probably needs to go sit down, learn under a real leader, a real head coach, and then go get another shot. I think McDaniel will be on the head coaching market again within 2 or 3 years of his next offensive coordinator position, which I think is decent chance is going to be right here.
Him and DQ are boys.
Decent
They
chance is
are
going to be right here,
boys.
which I would be all over.
Yeah.
Um, Not my one seed, which we'll talk about it another time, but I'd be all over. Um, but overall, I mean, you've got A Chain, you've got Waddle, offensively. Defensively, they're mediocre. I mean, this is one of the worst teams in the NFL. We all had this circled as an easy win. I remember we said early on in the year, thank God we're playing Miami in Madrid because even with all the international game weirdness that comes with it, it's usually not your best football that you play in those games. Even with all that discomfort, we should still be able to rally and beat them, even if we don't bring 100%. But boy, are we also one of the worst teams in the NFL. So it's hard to not see Miami circle in this one after just beating Buffalo and putting up 30 on them and going, hey, we can put 30 up on Buffalo. We can put 50 up on Washington, which is probably accurate.
I mean,
Um,
they beat the Falcons 34-10. They crushed the Bills 30-13. That's two out of their last three games. Didn't look great
yeah,
against the Ravens. So they've had their moments through the course of this year. And
capable football team.
they can get rolling offensively.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be like to get into our keys. That's going to be the determining factor is like what in the world are we able to do defensively against
Well,
them?
it
I think
feels like they've
offensively
got
will be
guys
okay,
like
but
A Chain and Waddle that we've just struggled to defend those types of players, right?
we
So
struggle to defend just about any player, but
you
especially
just hope you get bad
yeah.
Tua.
Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to. And so to get into the keys, Pop has this one as number two on the list. I think it's number one. Is
They're
got
not
to
in
be
any
pressure
particular order.
for no particular order. So I think the most important key is going to be you got to find a way to put pressure on Tua because Tua is bad under pressure. He makes terrible decisions. He takes bad hits. He's just not good under pressure. It never has been, and is just getting worse over the course of his career. Um, I would say you have to pressure him into making mistakes. You have to
Well, he's a
try.
smaller quarterback too, right? So especially if you pressure up the middle, yeah, that just makes it a little bit more difficult for him,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
you have to try and beat him up, and make him take some hits, make him speed him up, speed his clock up. Um, Ultimately, I think that's the most important thing. The more realistic hope, if there is a path to victory with the way this team's been playing currently, is going to have to be the offense has got to score and score a lot. So I think our second key is going to be to pressure. Is going to be to let Marcus Mariota get to work. I got myself all thrown off there because the keys are in different orders. But you got to let Marcus Mariota get to work. Pop says, "Let Mariota cook," which is what we used to say about
I was having
Jaden.
a little bit of fun there because it's
Yeah,
usually let Jayden cook. But
but yeah, we got to score. I mean, when you're averaging giving up 38 and a half points at a certain point, you gotta expect that.
we got to
Yeah,
put up
you gotta
30.
you gotta put up points.
Yeah,
Gotta put up at least
we got to
30.
put up 30, and it's hard to imagine that just because we don't have a lot of weapons.
Yeah,
But we got to 22, was it, against Detroit? So
yeah.
maybe there's a little bit of
Um,
hope. But maybe Debo has a a vintage Debo kind of career type game where he gets 15 or 20 touches through the course of the game in different ways.
yeah,
But I think Marcus has shown an ability to move the ball with this team.
yeah.
So
Um, and defensively, gotta hope to get the Dan Quinn effect. Gotta hope to bring some energy, force some turnovers, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that one. But you gotta hope maybe that can be the third key. Is maybe the Dan Quinn effect will change some things. Maybe he can get these guys fired up in a new or different way against Miami.
I just look at it like, again, you see him engaging with the players as they come off the field, and I feel like I don't know how the dynamic actually really changes with Dan Quinn being defensive coordinator, but I got to feel that if Joe Witz has the title and he's actually calling plays, there's some level of deference there, even though Dan might have a lot of input. Now he's the guy, right? It's everyone else, get out of my way. You can give me a little bit of advice here and there, but this is my defense. I'm calling the plays, and I'm sure part of that will be, holding players accountable, right? They can't really hide behind the fact that they don't like the plays the defensive coordinator is calling because there's a brotherhood that they have with Dan Quinn, right? That they all talk about. So I also think he's going to be very aggressive. I think he's going to turn up the aggressiveness, which could backfire. And, but I think it's necessary, right? It's the only opportunity they have. They've got to make some plays on
Well,
defense.
like optically, we've got to see something different, right? Because if we don't, I don't know. This whole thing's a head scratcher. Um, but
He
we've
had to do
we've got to
something.
see something. We've got to see. Yeah, he had to do something. Um, we've got to see something different because if you don't see anything different, then it just confirms what all of us basically know to be true, which is that Joe Jr. is just running Dan Quinn's defense, anyways. So you got to see something different. So we'll see how this unfolds. Should be interesting.
The injuries
Um,
are going to get everybody a pass this year.
yeah,
That's the reality of things.
we'll see. He might have been able to keep Joe Jr. in the building by demoting him, and then if they can get it to turn around, who knows? Anyways, I say we get into the bottom bets. What do you say, Pop?
Let's do it.
Speaking of turning things around, we were both 4-2 last week, which puts us at 23-32 for the season. So
If you
not
focus less on
ideal
the
record, but if
23
you
and
focus on
32,
last week, yeah,
but also focus on the competition,
there you
it's a
go.
tight race.
It is a
I think
tight,
you got
tight,
me the
tight
last
race.
2 years.
Yeah, this would
I
be
could
Pop's
tie
chance to
you in the
tie it up.
career record.
So the Commanders versus Dolphins, first game. Counting this one towards the bottom because it's at a different time. Dolphins are 2.5 point favorites in Madrid. What do you like, Pop?
I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence, but at the same time, I kind of feel like maybe the trip out there, maybe the gather. I think that's one thing we haven't talked about yet. The fact that they're all together. I do think this trip came at a good time, to get away from it all. It is a very cool setting. We've seen B. Mitch and Finley out there and some of the press. So it's like this perfect opportunity to just get away from it all and have a change of scenery. So, and I just feel like at some point this losing streak has to end. So I'll pick the Commanders.
I'm taking Miami. Miami.
Last time we split like that, we won.
Miami.
So
I think you said that last time, and we lost.
no,
But
we both picked against them. We weren't split.
okay, I'm taking the Dolphins. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's where we're at. Jets and Patriots. Patriots 12.5 point favorites on Thursday Night
Oof.
Football. What do you think, Pop?
Pats are rolling. I'll go with the Pats. A lot of points to give up, but can't pick the Jets.
No, yeah, give me the
Sorry,
Pats.
insider.
Bears at Vikings. Vikings are 3 point favorites here. What do you like, Pop?
It's a tough one, man, because like the Bears keep winning these. They get to their credit, they make comebacks, but they keep kind of winning these close ones, and their schedule's been pretty soft. Vikings are just a very unpredictable team. They look good some weeks, and other weeks they just don't look very good. Lost last week, but I might pick this one a little bit more with my heart, but I'll go with the Vikings.
Yeah, give me the. I don't know. Give me the Bears. I feel like the Bears are starting to heat up, unfortunately. And the Vikings are just so up and down. I don't know that I
Very up and down.
trust JJ McCarthy quite yet.
Yeah,
Seahawks at Rams. Rams are 3 point favorites. What do you like here, Pop?
good game. I'll go
Great game.
Rams. They're rolling.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rams as well here. Chiefs 3.5 point favorites at the Denver Broncos. Both good
Another
teams.
another good game. I mean,
Serious
Broncos win
divisional
ugly.
implications here.
They win ugly, but they've got a great defense. But they just seem to win, and they seem to be able to turn it around. In the same, similar to what I said about the Bears in a way, right? Just not the most impressive victories in the world, but seem to be able to pull it out. But I'm going to go Chiefs. I don't think they're going to lose back to back weeks. They were starting to roll there, so I'm going Chiefs here.
Yeah, I'm gonna hedge with you here. Go Chiefs as well. Sunday Night Football Lions at Eagles. Eagles are 2.5 point favorites. What do you like there, Pop?
I want you to go first on this one.
Give
I
me the
always go
Eagles.
first.
Give me the Eagles.
Yeah, I think I'm going Eagles as well. I They just have a way of uglying up the game,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's called
figuring
having
out
a
a
good
way to,
defense.
yeah, really good defense, and they do enough on offense at the right time to get things done. And it'd be tempted to pick the Lions, but I think the Eagles is the right pick here.
And then Monday night, Cowboys 3.5 point favorites at the Raiders. What do you like?
Cowboys.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys
I
as
don't
well over
like the
the Raiders.
Cowboys. I don't think they're particularly a really good football team, but I think the Raiders are particularly bad, and that's a pretty easy place to play. You know, that's not a big home field advantage in Vegas. There's a lot of 10. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Cowboys fans there. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
will you gotta take the Cowboys here. I mean the Raiders stink.
yeah,
So what do you say we wrap this thing up, Pop?
we can wrap it up. Boys got things to do.
Places to be, man, things to do. Let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, up and down.
This is Pop.
Thank you all for another great week and hail to the Commanders.
Go Commanders. Hell.